China's rapid development over the last 30 years has come at the cost of great environmental problems. In the big cities, factories and cars create dense smogs, especially in the winter. Forest habitats have been destroyed by logging, damaging wildlife and causing floods and landslides.
I remember 7-8 years ago, a senior minister told me that pollution is very bad in China. We recognize it's a problem, but whenever we have to choose between development and clean environment, we have to choose development. That has changed, and it has changed because of the extreme level of pollution. It's not just a little inconvenience.
It's this cost of the last few decades of fast-paced growth President Xi is trying to reverse.
那习近平每到一个地方呢，就特别强调生态保护、绿色发展重要。比如讲在重庆讲呢，长江要搞公抓大保护，不搞大开发。
This is the Yangtze, the longest and most famous river in Asia. Around 1/5 of China's population live and work along the river. It's lined with farms and factories. In 2016, President Xi visited the Yangtze River Economic Zone to stress that the further development of the region should not be at the cost of the river.
既要金山银山，又要绿水青山，宁可要绿水青山，不要金山银山，因为绿水青山就是金山银山。
Enter the Hejiang, newly appointed custodians in President Xi's nationwide initiative to protect China's rivers.
In the past, there was only one factor. That was just economic growth. You measure it by GDP. But now it's saying, what are the key factors that China must embed in its growth?
Song Tao and Fu are county officials who have been made Hejiang, heads of the river. It's an environmental protection role.
习近平总书记对这一点是非常重视。当然，他也了解，因为他从他的生涯里面啊，从中国最基层一步一步往上走，他知道老百姓对环保的不好的环境的反应。
一个是感情的重要，因为我是出生在河边、生活在河边的人。
Each Hejiang has a section of river that they're responsible for. To do their jobs, the Hejiangs must understand how the entire Yangtze River basin works. Thousands of streams and feeder rivers are also a potential pollution risk. Today, the Hejiang are inspecting a factory to check it's not polluting the river. Its product? Pickled vegetables. This factory produces a lot of wastewater which outflows into the river. So the Hejiang inspects their waste treatment plants. They want to be sure that the water has been cleaned and is safe to be released into the river.
In the past was, many enterprises would have pollution equipment, but they would know when the inspector was coming. So when the inspector was coming, they turn it on, and it looks like it's okay, and as soon as he leaves, they turn it off.
Back then, Xi Jinping was based in Zhejiang province and faced the challenges and contradictions of managing growth.
Xi Jinping spent nearly 30 years of his active life as a young man on the coast of China, which are the most open provinces in China.
So you could say it was the absolute core period of his life. So I suppose it meant that earlier than most politicians of his generation, he kind of had to get this contradictory idea of being a socialist but also having markets and dealing with entrepreneurial entities.
In these heady years, his vision was taking shape. Its true impact would be felt years later.
You see when you're responsible for the leadership of a province, the diversity of things that you have to worry about. He was worrying about the economy, he was worrying about the environment, and he was worrying about culture. Some people wonder whether President Xi is just making some of the stuff up. And I know that I heard from him personally 12 years ago some of the same concepts.
老路既行不通又走不远，必须开辟新的发展路径，激发经济潜力， 引领经济发展走向更加光明的未来，这是我们的历史责任。
The 5 major development concepts, innovation, coordination, green, openness, and sharing, become the guidelines for building the economy in a way that is sustainable and that brings benefit to all.
The success of this model along the Yangtze is catching on, and with support from the authorities, local people here are now partners in reviving the river. There are many farms here. This is Zheguo Field. Today, mulberry tree plantations are being cleared. With the fruit already harvested, the leaves are to be used as animal feed. These trees play a role in improving the health of the Yangtze because their strong roots prevent soil runoff downhill. Soil erosion is a big problem in China, but how the soil here is cultivated also impacts on the river. At the mulberry farm, they've recently switched to an organic fertilizer. Unlike the chemicals they previously used, with this, they reduce their risk of damaging the water quality of the river. So changing how people farm is important for the future of the Yangtze and all those who depend on it.
So I think this is something that he has worked out for himself, and now trying to persuade the whole country to appreciate it. And I think most Chinese people do find the idea a very imaginative one.
Yangshan Port, Shanghai, one of the world's busiest ports, and it just got busier. I feel there is a really great culture of innovation in China. The entrepreneurs I've met here have so many big dreams and they know that they can tackle it now because they've got that support. And it's called the FTZ, or Free Trade Zone, part of President Xi's focus on using openness to create more opportunities.
在国际上呢，自贸区是一个通行的一个概念，那么它意味着高标准的投资贸易规则。主要的一个目的呢，是使得企业更方便地进入市场，更低成本地开展经营活动，更高效率地获得盈利。
One of the key ideas is to encourage entrepreneurship in the service industry. Take the case of German ship repair firm MAN Enterprises, which took advantage of this.
在自贸区成立之前，国内来说，对船舶、对国际航行的船舶进行一个保税维修这块是个空白。
Prior to the FTZ, similar service providers had to pay 28% tax on components.
对我们的船东来说，我们这个地方呢是没有这个竞争力的。自贸区成立以后呢，省去了一个进口关税和一个海关增值税，这一块呢，对我们的国际航行的船东啊带来很大的一个利益。
中国建立贸易自由区，顺应了世界的潮流，我们称之为3化了：贸易自由化、投资自由化、服务贸易便利化，吸引各方进入中国投资。
The open policies stimulate the push into high-value services from low-cost manufacturing.
自贸试验区它整个在上海的这个土地范围啊，是占了我们上海的1/50。 但它对我们上海的经济贡献达到了1/4。
Around 47,000 companies were set up in the FTZ over the last 3 years.
In terms of openness, China is the largest trading partner and also the largest foreign direct investor in many, many countries around the world. So clearly has a big footprint in terms of its openness agenda.
A culture of openness is infectious. Its impact is beginning to be felt by more than 500 million people in China today.
They're moving away from trade and investment into more consumption so that they can be much more like Western societies, closer to 70% of GDP from consumption.
China is, approaching the leading edge of development in a number of industries. I mean, perhaps the most outstanding example is in all the internet industries.
And central to this are the new tech companies. Shenzhen in southern China, a
very modern, ever-changing, technology-driven city. And home to one consumer revolution. It's exactly the kind of innovation that Xi Jinping wants to encourage. You notice this everywhere that you go in China. People have this love affair with the smartphone. Really, they use it for so many things, and it's not just as a phone anymore. It does so much more than that. Running through China's economy is an invisible network of financial transactions. It's become indispensable to millions here who use it every day. Especially these young people on their way to work in Shenzhen. They're all using a clever smartphone app that could soon replace cash altogether. They're all software engineers for the IT company Tencent. Gao Yi, Ma Dan and Zhang Yang are part of the team that runs the WeChat Pay app. It was launched in the summer of 2013.
微信支付呢刚刚成立，只有就是几十个人的团队，到现在变成了几百个人。
These few hundred software engineers now serve well over 600 million active monthly users in China and across the world.
规模优势和我们创新优势结合起来，又形成新的先发优势。
Zhou Jun is WeChat Pay Technical Director.
人们的日常生活中，方方面面都在用着微信支付去做结账，生活变得非常的便利，出门再也不用带现金，也不用带卡了，只要一部手机就可以走遍生活的各个角落。
What I think is impressive about China is the fact that innovation suddenly becomes an agenda, just moves so rapidly into that space.
China gave up the bicycle with the arrival of the car in the 80s and 90s, and now it's gone back en masse to the bicycle, but now in the form of bike sharing.
Bike sharing showcases a new trend in sustainable lifestyles. Even urban planners in China's fast-growing cities are using design to solve some challenges.
They've made rapid progress in this area. Very dynamic in the space of less than a decade, much less than a decade. You know, they've gone from 47, 48% of the economy being in services to 53%. That is a rapid change.
Across China, a team led by Professor Yu Kongjian is modelling effective ecological solutions.
我的一个理想，就是要形成一个海绵国土，不光是一个海绵的城市，要回到人跟自然和谐的。 人跟水和谐的这种状态。
It works like this. First, natural wetlands are preserved. Second, concrete floodwalls are replaced with earth terraces cut into the riverbanks and native plants are cultivated.
向农民学习，像农民种地一样，梯田。中国的梯田实际上是涵养水源、自流水的一个最好的方法。
The plants and soil act as sponges, absorbing the overflow as the river swells during rainy seasons. This also has the effect of replenishing groundwater sources, allowing the availability of water for other uses. Known as the Sponge City concept, the initiative is being rolled out in 16 cities across China.
这个绿色发展，我们形象的讲，就是对 未来进行生态资本投资，积累生态财富。
In order to ensure such sustainable development, China is working on creating a blueprint for smart megacities all across the country. Cities like Beijing have grown exponentially, far too fast for public services like transportation, hospitals, and schools to keep pace with their growing populations. Urban sprawl like this affects not just Beijing, but cities across the entire country. What's the solution? Smart urban planning on a massive scale.
习近平总书记呢，尤其提出“13五”时间，我们要有5大的新的发展理念：创新、协调、绿色、开放、共享。
I would put it as